Welcome everyone to the very first episode of the Cloud Storage Show. I'm your host Nitin, and I'm thrilled to embark on this journey of exploration and learning about the dynamic world of cloud storage and FinOps practice. The Cloud Storage Show is your go-to source for information, education, and building capabilities around cloud storage and FinOps practices. We'll be covering a wide range of topics from industry trends to best practices and bringing in experts to share their personal insights and expert opinion. So today we have a fantastic guest with us, Gerard. Gerard is a FinOps practitioner and brings almost 30 plus of experience in the field. And he has been with SoftwareOne for almost 13 years and heads the FinOps practice in EMEA. He's a writer, and you can find his views about FinOps future in his personal blog. So welcome, Gerard. Thanks to agreeing to do this, and that too on our first episode. Very excited about our conversation.
Thank you, Nitin, for the introduction, and happy to have me here. So let's kick it on. So as to that, I'm a FinOps practitioner. I'm working in that area for quite a bit. But let's face the things we should give our audience some help on, advice on whatever we think from our personal view.
Absolutely. So, Gerard, as we know, in today's episode, we'll talk about FinOps adoption. How's the industry treating this as? Are they understanding the difference between FinOps and cloud cost optimization and what the future looks like? So obviously, a lot of meaty topics to discuss, but probably we'll start with a lighter one. What prompted you to develop the expertise in FinOps?
I think when I'm looking back in my career, because I'm always more than 20 years in the industry, I think we're always looking at the next interesting game. So we have done a lot of things on-premise softwares, and we see the rise into the cloud. And I think in the last 3-4 years, when we found out that the item practice doesn't work anymore for the agile thing, what happens in the cloud, we thought, okay, we need a different framework. And that was FinOps Foundation was coming in and saying, guys, give us the freedom and the control to get into the cloud. And that comes together with the exploding costs for the customer on the other side, what drives simply the adoption. That is also something where I was very, very interested to say, guys, what is the next big game to help customers to go further in their journey? I think that is the main driver. The adoption of cloud is risen so massively everywhere on the globe that it's not longer something what comes, it's already there.
Yeah. So, Gerard, you'll be talking to so many enterprise on a daily basis. What is, according to you, is a percentage that how many of the enterprise have started the FinOps journey?
I will say some don't name it FinOps. They have different names for it. But at the end, I think everybody who is in the cloud has his FinOps journey. They just some don't name it. I will say 70% already has their FinOps journey in. And I will, from that, a lot of them, at least half of them, really name it FinOps and have their own FinOps teams, especially on the enterprise, because they're facing these things. But some sometimes name it different. They call it Cloud Center of Excellence. Some call it just Cloud Cost Optimization. At the end, it is a FinOps journey. Right. I will say at least 70%. There are some industries who doesn't be in the cloud, but I think that's, I will say right now from that perspective.
So I think that's a good follow-up question then. Which industries are not taking those FinOps journey? What are those? Who are those 30% guys?
I think these are still these persons who have massive security issues. They have data problems. So these are typically finance companies, not the fintechs. It's really finance companies who have very, very high standards to get into the cloud. That means also governmental. They're also moving there, but on a very slower pace as the others, because all these restrictions has to be met beforehand, before they can really move into the cloud. And these are the guys who are on-premise. And then there are some cultural effects in, I will say. As you know, I'm native German. My friends over there are very, a little bit paranoid when it comes to cloud. So companies who have never said we still stay on premise. Give you one example I have with one customer who is they're building houses, and they say we are digging a lot of underground. We don't need internet, so we are still on premise. These are the customers, but these are exceptions.
Got it. So I think then it will be fair to say that if a company is having cloud, then more or less they are doing some kind of FinOps.
Yeah, I think not in the starting, maybe when they do the cloud migration, but in the moment they are a little bit in, even on the crawl stage, they are faced immediately with a price hike. They see it immediately. Oh, we thought we're spending 1 million in the cloud. Oh, now we're spending already 2, and it's accelerating. What is okay when it comes from a migration perspective? I bring more workload in, but they don't see that right now. The spike is even higher. We have a point where we have to optimize what we have done so far. They might brought it in perfectly, but then they forget to optimize what they have there. And I think that's why FinOps practice is so evident for them.
Is any tipping point or any probably a year after their cloud journey, then they start looking this cost very actively? So I was hearing somewhere that the first year is all about lift and shift and just stability and praying to the God and nothing breaks. Probably it's the second or third year when they start seeing those bills. In your experience, if you have to name 1 year that, okay, after X point, they start looking at cloud cost optimization very heavily.
I will say it's always the year after having done your migration project. I think that's exactly where it starts. If you're coming from the angle, there are other customers who are going differently in the cloud. Every customer who goes into infrastructure as a service, it's after that year, they moved it in and then, okay, we are now there. Oh, and then they compare what they thought they pay and what they really pay. And that's it. Something is wrong here. We have to look at it. And these are the guys. And there are different ones where it takes longer. These are customers who ignore infrastructure as a service or platform as a service. They're going directly software as a service. That guys takes longer before they're looking into it because they decide to buy a service in the cloud. These guys comes after 2-3 years because they have to make the decision. Only move into serverless things. That's different. That's why we have 2 different streams. But I will say the dominant stream is going classic, move your infrastructure over, and then into serverless infrastructure. And that comes in the second year.
Awesome. So any trend have you seen that this whole FinOps initiation, which level in the company, which organization role typically initiates this? Is it the top level? Is it coming from CEOs or CIOs? Or is it coming from guys who are doers? Or is it coming from mid-level management? Any trend you have seen?
I was thinking the major trend is still it comes out of middle management in the beginning because they're facing the issues, because they don't have the tools and they're coming out of the item world. Now they don't have the tools to handle cloud properly. So they are ringing the alarm bells. They're not making the decisions, but they ring the alarm bells. We cannot handle it anymore. So they are the people who are initiated first time. So quite often these are the volunteers coming in. That's the ones that are coming from the commercial. These are the classical SAM managers. And on the other side, the IT managers. And then the second boost comes from the architects. Because on the one side, all companies facing from a strategic level, a cost points there, guys. We are not allowed to spend more money. We have to decrease our IT spend of 5%, 10%. So the IT architects sitting there want to deploy something in the cloud and how we can save money. And they are coming from a cloud cost optimization part. They do it to achieve their budgets. So but it's all middle management. That's where it initially comes from. The problem or the issue for the companies is this is what we're seeing right now, are not the people who make decisions to implement the FinOps practice. There is a need to do something, and these guys do whatever they can to convince senior management. At the end, from my understanding and what's churning right now is that senior management takes the lead on it because they actively make strategic decisions. We want to be in the cloud, we want to be efficient as possible in the cloud, and that has to come then from senior management. But I'll be honest, when I look in the market, not all companies are really doing it like that. They treat it still differently. I thought that from one guy from the FinOps Foundation, Ben Demora, who said, why on earth is a FinOps person not supporting into executive level? It's so important. Some of them don't see it. And that is maybe the picture I can put on the table right now.
Interesting. So this is very clear. I think I would echo with the fact that it's a middle level management whose KRA is cost savings, but his KRA is also to keep the lights on in the infrastructure, right? So these are the guys who are trying to look out for solutions which can do both, because probably a finance guy KRA would be cost savings, but he probably won't understand the infrastructure, right? So I agree with you. Cloud architects and mid-level managers, DevOps heads are the one who are struggling to find solutions which can balance both. So a very interesting aspect. So let me flip this question around. So these are the guys who are bringing FinOps to the foray, and they are the one evangelizing it. Who are the guys, according to you, are the blockers, or probably not blockers, maybe I would say, are not encouraging with that much enthusiasm what idea they should be doing the FinOps?
Yeah, I think these are typically the guys who have what we call in FinOps the conflicting KPIs. When your goal is to have a fast system with high quality, that isn't cheap. So, but that's their KPI. Their KPI is not to make it cheap. This comes out of the same area. But these are people who are running the infrastructure. That can be internal departments. More likely they are not, because they get the pressure also from the cost side. But re-educating is a problem, because these people just don't want to change. There are people in there what we call they are not early majorities, they are the late majority. And then the real blockers are, interesting wise, third-party companies who are outsourced your infrastructure, and they're making money to support your infrastructure. So it's not their goal to make less money. So don't expect it from them. And they're blocking simply this one in different variables. I've seen different ways. I've seen blocking other competitors out, doing something, but doing it partially, not doing real FinOps breaks. I think the blockers are there, but for natural interest. Because if your KPI is to keep an infrastructure and get paid more when there is more, and the FinOps doing the opposite, doing with less more, there's a normal enemy. If they like it or not, they will block, because they have to fill their pockets. And I think there we see a lot of blockers. And interesting wise, you see the blockers sometimes in people who are still in the traditional way of thinking budgets. That is a C-level blocker. Like finance persons to have their annual thing. Doesn't work. And to change, people to have to change are the other ones. I think there you sometimes see blockers over there. Finance have to save money. On the other side, they want their annual reporting. We say, no, we do it on a weekly basis. And that doesn't fit in their budget problems. I think, but these are then more the high-level blockers. Other blockers are really the other ones. That gives a good picture right now.
I know this is very interesting, but I'm guessing MSPs also will turn around. I think once every CIOs will ask MSPs that, hey, we just don't want you to manage cloud, we want you to manage it effectively, which basically means having your FinOps practice embedded in it. I think they'll turn around. Hopefully this would be a revolution soon, and I think FinOps Foundation is doing amazing job to bring this awareness.
I will say the MSP, and when they are focused on MSP service, they will turn around. I think the biggest problems are what we call the classical outsourcers. You give them an environment and take care of my environment. That guys are really a problem for you, because they are not focused on that, because they are outsourcers. That's the same when you outsource your own IT in an own division. The only pressure you have is put the costs down. Then they will move. But the main point, what is happening is, from a FinOps perspective, FinOps-driven approach, you might achieve 50% of savings only. Even you can do 100%. They do what is necessary to run their show. It's a different approach to go from a FinOps practice to saying, guys, I want to have when I do the unit economics piece, I want to spend $1 and get as much value out of it in my business. That's a different approach from the other side. And then when you do that approach, then you save more, because then your goal is to make for the company most money. And it's a totally different driver.
Absolutely. So, Gerard, if you may ask, while companies building the FinOps practice, how are they starting? How are they deciding? Are they building it internally, training their internal team, or they're starting with a consultant to begin with and do this internal capability building parallel?
I will say, when you start a journey, they're always taking some help from outside. We've seen that, I see that relatively in our projects we are doing. I see it in the FinOps practice. They need some experts to guide them into the right way. Though it comes external, so some people simply ask about guidance, and they're doing professional services, how should we implement? But the end goal, what I'm seeing when it takes these 3 stages of FinOps, crawl, walk, and run. In crawl, you have a lot of consultancy in. When it comes to the walk stage, when you start walking in FinOps, then you build your own FinOps team. Then simply say, want to put it in-house. And in the run stage, the role of the externals changes to strategic advisors only, but it's still, it is an internal thing to run at the end. So it's mostly internal. Consultancy will always support. It depends which way. First is education, then it's supporting to build their own team. And in the third position, it's about giving them external advice, giving them a benchmark. Do we doing fine? Do we doing good against our peers? Because they don't see that. They have the good thing. They can go to the FinOps Foundation and talk to their peers over there. But I think they're where they're asking for advice. But at the end, it's pretty clear. It is an internal obligation to do it.
Yep. So I think taking cue from your first point, where you mentioned that companies are doing some kind of FinOps, either they call it as cloud cost optimization or FinOps. So I think what audience would be very keen to know is what is this confusion between cloud cost optimization and FinOps? How are these two separate, or these are two same, or are these are two different things?
Sometimes it's seen like that. First of all, FinOps is quite often now used as a buzzword for everything. Everything is FinOps. It isn't. It's the same what they use with diversity. It's a buzzword. But cloud cost optimization for me is, first of all, is something like the heart of FinOps, because it is something you have to do. There where the pressure comes from, there where your benefit comes from, but you cannot see it isolated. It needs a FinOps framework around that to get the optimum out of cloud cost optimization. I saw it quite often, architects doing cloud cost optimization in the best way they can do it, but they don't have the full picture. Now that's an overlaying thing from a FinOps perspective to say we have two things. We have the cloud cost optimization as part of it, but what most people forget, because that is about savings, fast, easy, do it. Then you have the main thing, do you have designed your system right? So it's the cloud spend management part, what has to be right from the beginning. And that is not cloud cost optimization. So you need the spend management under control first, and design right, and then optimize what is changing. That's the way where these people are not thinking like that. They are not like that. And that's the thing where I will say it is a centerpiece, but if you don't have your cloud under control in the beginning, you will fail. And I think that's why the FinOps piece as a framework is far bigger than cloud cost optimization. But it is a necessity for being successful in FinOps to have a cloud cost optimization.
Absolutely, no, I agree with you. I think maybe folks start with the immediate need, start from optimizing the cloud cost, and then they probably realize that I can't keep on reacting to these things, and I need to have a bigger framework, bigger way to do it, and so that I don't react to the moment I have a target that reduce the cloud cost today. Right. So I think it's a journey. That's what we are also seeing it. Companies get pressure from their CXOs that reduce the cloud cost, and they do it. But the journey is a lot of times very painful. And then they realize I cannot do this every day. There has to be a framework. And probably that's where they start adopting the FinOps principles.
Yeah, absolutely agree on that one.
One of the other interesting thing which we observed, and this is post-COVID, 2021, around that time, there was a sudden sea wave of companies doing cloud cost optimization. That was like everyone has to, like everyone, other development stopped and everyone was doing cloud cost optimize. It's been 2 years since the journey, and I'm guessing you guys would have seen it very closely. So after 2 years, where are we? So if you now talk to, let's say, 100 customers now, are you seeing that they have done the basic principles of cost optimization, idle volumes, reserved instances? What are the basic tenets which can help you save money? What would be that percentage for you? Is it 50%? Like 50% companies have done it, and 50% guys haven't even started even after COVID wave. So what is your sense?
I said, like this, when we're talking about enterprise customers, I'm not talking about the corporate market here right now. I will say they all have done their job somehow, to some degree. So there is no customer who has already have implemented now finally cloud. I know one customer who avoided cloud, and that now they have to. They all implemented immediately at least the low-hanging fruits like reserved instances, savings plans, all of that stuff is somehow implemented. The question is on which level. But I will not say 50%, I will say 100% of the enterprise customers have had cloud cost optimization in their target to keep the costs somehow under control. Saying having a FinOps practice in place, no, that's not 100%. That's maybe 50% of them who really starting their FinOps journey in different stages. So I think the major change, what we're seeing now is, because when I look backwards, 2-3 years ago, that was all in crawl. Nobody was really, there was some exceptions. Okay, some exceptions always are heading up. But on the other side, what I'm seeing right now, I don't see any customer who is not at the end of crawl stage going to walk now. They're all enterprise customers moving ahead. Does not mean they're 100% optimized. They have done their decent job already. So the major job is done, but it's maybe 50% of the savings to be achieved. Now becomes the painful part, because low-hanging fruit doesn't change your environment. Now it's time to change your environment to a cloud journey, because that is the hard and painful part. That's where we're going back to this discussion from before. Where are the blockers? Here comes the blockers, because changing an environment, nobody can say anything. I can buy your virtual machine for 50% cheaper. This is no-brainer. But if you have to change your virtual machine from a 4-core to a 2-core, yeah, really? Because we want to have security. Same how you buy a PC. It's the same discussion when you're going on storage, for example. I buy a machine, it's 500 gigabyte or 1 terabyte. Do I need it? No, because it's my asset. I own it. But in the cloud, I do the same. Like SAP tells me what I have to put in. Do I really need that storage? No. Then that's why we see the utilization on storage maybe on 20-30%. Can we have an automated? Because in the cloud, you pay what you subscribe for, not what you use. That's the most misunderstanding what I'm seeing there. Customers think it's pay-per-use. It's not pay-per-use. It's pay per what I subscribe for. I must make sure that I just pay per use. That is an effort that changes the environment.
So very interesting. You mentioned that almost 100% guys have at least attempted to do a basic level of cost savings, which basically means as a consultant and as a helper to enabling these companies, 2 years back, your journey would have been getting these basic things done. Yep. Now it's actually convincing customers in changing their environment. So how, as an external party, you guys are able to enable it? What are the resistance you're facing it, and how you're trying to solve that?
I think it's now how you get customers to action. There are different ways. That's what we call the remediation phase. This remediation is the hard part. How to get it done, because on the other side, we are just the advisors from an external perspective. When you're an external, internal, these people, when I talk to these guys, they have the same problem, because they have to advise somebody in admin, change your way of doing it. And they say, why? I have to make sure that this is a conflicting KPIs. But that's something we have to convince. There are 2 ways to do that. First of all, it will not work without executive support to say it is important to do so, because then it gets part of the journey. So there are different ways to do it. There are ways, incentivize, push them, different management ways to get that done. What I think what is an interesting solution right now, when we're talking, especially when we're talking about your solution, is something when I can bring something in that doesn't disturb their workload, because putting in a storage optimization from Lucidity as an example is something what is automated. Yes, it needs a proof of concept first, make sure it works properly, but then there is no workload for these guys. That's the most blocker comes out of this remediation phase. Oh, I have to do a second task on top. I have so much to do already. Have an automated managed solution. What do that for me? What is one time approved? It's perfect to make the remediation happen. That's why I think all these, what I call niche tools like yours, there are several others, they are very important for this remediation phase because they are putting one excuse to the side. I don't have time for you. Because you say, oh, you don't need time. We just showcase one time. Your solution is working. It doesn't hurt my machines. And we can implement it then without they have to do anything on top. And that's why I see that as a possibility. The other thing is very hard for a consultant to help customers to remediate because they find hundreds of reasons not to do it. And changing people in their way as they are is a hard way. And I think, is that fast enough? Don't forget, in cloud, we're not talking about doing things in a year or next year. Yeah. We are really, when we see that, when you start a journey in crawl, you are maybe on a half-year annual reporting scheme. If you go in walk, it changed down to monthly reporting. And if I saw customers who are in run stage, they're doing weekly settings like in agile programming already. So that is a totally different speed. And you cannot work there when some people are not letting you do your job. And I think this is the final stage.
Very interesting.
If you have a good view on that one.
No, absolutely. Now, I mean, that's an interesting point. Now I'm thinking that why it seems that you, Gerard, you already had this sorted out that 2 years back, the FinOps practitioner will help them get the big, small wins. But 2 years down the line, customers are going to ask ways to optimize further. And that's where consultant will face challenges. And that's where they have to bring in tools, probably like Lucidity, probably like 100 others, which are the newest tools, which can help optimize it without impacting their workload. So it seems that, Gerard, you were visionary even 2 years back. So where is the tool now? Tooling, there are many tools in the technology, in FinOps world. Where is this industry going towards? What is, talk to me about, there's AI talks, LLM, so FinOps doing this. Just there's a lot of noise around it, but what is your vision where these tools are going towards?
Yeah, there's an interesting part happening. We have one part that these are the general tools. They are coming from different vendors, not talking about the vendors, because there are different ones there who just do the general cloud spend management and have some optimization capabilities. There are several ones there without naming them right now. And you have the vendors developing their own tools. You get it from AWS, you get it from Azure, from GCP. They are also developing tools. And what I'm seeing there will be more and more coming to make that one sure. That is coming. And that will be potentially AI enforced somehow to get some anomaly detections in alerts back when something spikes. That will be a combination, but that general tool will be there. And the important stuff is there. It was in the past and it is now. It has to be cross-platform. These are tools, general you need. How you call it? Even some people say our tool is called Power BI. It's also a way of taking a tool. You have customers in big size who use Power BI as a customizer. That is you need. But what I see here is something when we look at these 300, 400 different solutions in the market, is that special tools, these, I call it Swiss Army knives. So they're doing a scalpel into the things. We are focusing on storage, focusing on Kubernetes, focusing on Databricks, focusing on big data. These special guys are important too, because that's where then you can bring optimization there. I think the market will go there. And I don't know, honestly, where the future will be. If something goes all together somehow, I don't see anything doing everything right now on the market. But I expect that the shift in artificial intelligence gives us, at least in that business, a massive change in consultancy workload, because we have to scale in a different way, and we can. So a lot of things will scale here just with AI-powered solution. gets it in a bigger scale in the future, how maybe one thing will dominate, I don't see it right now. But we will see when we look at all the lead indicators for the future. That because I'm not trying to focus on things what happened in the past. I'm looking what is leading me into the future, where it goes. And there has to be more. At the end of the day, the customer wants one solution where there's one button to press. Oh, by the way, I want storage optimization. That should be somehow automated. I think this is something might come in the future, but it will be always different vendors. When you look at the FinOps Foundation, when we have done that, what it's called, evaluation of customers, how many tools you are using. And was at that time 3.7 tools used. And I guess it's even increasing because it's getting more complex. So customers are still using, and I was in several cases now, they will use a lot of tools, but every customer has to decide how I bring that into one view. That is the missing piece right now, what I might hope for the future comes from vendors maybe, but we will see. I'm not sure how that will end, but there is a change coming and it will come and we will see that in the future.
I agree. I think that's a challenge to us thrown by industry that as a vendor, can we bring more innovative solutions, because customers do ask for it, that can you solve everything in storage, for example, but it's very hard to build just one solution. It's pretty hard, but I think there's a challenge on us that how can we build fast, build quicker. But I think I'm very convinced with you, thought that the future lies in specific solutions, which does end-to-end automation. So thanks for these insights, Virat. I think I want to leave, just want to put a teaser for AI, because I think we should be doing a separate episode on just on AI and role in FinOps. It's a huge, massive topic. And I think a lot of guys are trying to dabble at how this will come up. Deloitte is talking about it. Multiple other companies won't talk about it. So we'll definitely want to do a piece on that. But today probably end with this note. Thanks for your time. This concludes our first episode of Cloud Storage Show. Big thank you for sharing your insights. I love the conversation with you every time I speak with you. And so for the audience, I hope you like our episode, and don't forget to subscribe so we don't miss any updates from you. We'll be back with more exciting topics in the upcoming episodes, exploring the ever landscape of cloud storage and FinOps practices. Until then, this is Nitin signing off. Stay connected, stay informed. Thanks.